Empowering Women in Hydrography. So I'm going to ask Hilary Thompson to lead this item, but I think that everybody should be aware that both Canada and the IHO have embarked upon a joint project, Empowering Women in Hydrography, and that's been rolled out through IHO, but also throughout all the regional hydrographic commissions. And Hilary is here to talk about and let us know what is happening in Southwest Pacific. And this is basically a bit of a taster for the main meeting next week, face-to-face, when there'll be further discussion and presentations on this item. So Hilary, we'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Adam. Hope you can all hear me. So as Adam mentioned, I'm Hilary Thompson, the Executive Director of the Australian Hydrographic Office. I'm also the Chair of the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission Work Plan and Priorities Work Group. And as part of that group, we're looking at how we can empower women in hydrography in the Pacific. Stuart, I've got issues sharing my screen. Can I get you to share that presentation for me, please?
Yes.
So, as Adam mentioned, Lionel will be presenting next Wednesday during item 7 on the IHO Empowering Women in Hydrography project. And then next Thursday, we have a longer session on empowering women in hydrography in the Pacific. So this is, as Adam said, a bit of a teaser as to what we've been up to so far. And next slide, please. Thanks, Stuart. So the main objective is to try and create a network throughout the Southwest Pacific to join women together to see what we can do to improve our prospects, our careers, and our connectivity through hydrography. So late last year, we issued a circular letter 04 of 2022 and invited women to join a Southwest Pacific Empowering Women in Hydrography network. To date, we have 52 women who've joined the network, and they are based in Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, Niue, Fiji, France, the UK, and the US. Our UK and US counterparts are generally women who are working on projects related to the Pacific. And so we're more than happy to get involved with meeting their counterparts and joining us in Pacific activities, which is very nice of them considering that we meet online and it's usually in the middle of the night for them. The women in the network are currently working either for national hydrographic officers like myself, marine safety authorities such as Australian Maritime Safety Authority or the equivalents in other countries, government science organisations, in industry as offshore surveyors, in academia or studying hydrography. So we have a range of voices coming to the group. Next slide, please, Stuart. So you might say, well, why do we need a network? So the first thing we did was to reach out to the women and ask what did they want from a network, and also what they could give to a network. As you know, women are very giving people, so they always wanted to be able to give back to the network as well as get something from it. So you see on the screen there some of the reasons women have joined the network and some of the things that they want to be able to give back to the network. So there's a lot there on the wanting from the network, an opportunity to learn about other cultures, to learn about other aspects of hydrography. So we find that women get sort of entrenched into one role and may not be aware of other roles across the industry where they could move or change careers or progress careers too. Quite a few wanted some tips and tricks on how to balance family commitments and offshore hydrographic work. They wanted ways of being able to address their male allies to support women in their organisations. Many women in hydrography sit in a very male-dominated environment and may be the only one woman or one of only several women in their organisation. And they wanted to be able to have some tips and tricks on how to break into the important conversations and have their voices heard in those environments. So what did women want to give back to the network? They were very keen to share their stories, to help others learn about career pathways. They wanted to be role models for other women. They wanted to support other women or men starting out in their careers. Some of them want support on technical challenges where they can ask those questions that sometimes they think are a bit stupid and don't really want to ask potentially their supervisor. But as you know, no question is a stupid question, but they wanted a safe place to be able to ask questions. People wanted to provide advice for working parents and caregivers on how to balance work and caregiving or parenting responsibilities. They wanted to be able to provide links to professional bodies and opportunities that they present. And they wanted to help break down barriers for the development of women and women's careers in hydrography. So that's why the network exists. Next slide, please, Stuart. So what are some of the challenges that we face in the Pacific? Well, the first one is actually reaching women in hydrography in the Pacific. So in 2020, the Pacific community did a strategy on regional strategy for Pacific women in maritime. And part of their assessment was to look at the number of cartographers or hydrographers in the industry across the Pacific. And you'll notice there that in 2017, there was none. But luckily, by 2019, we had 4. And I think the majority of those are in Fiji. So hopefully we've reached out to those ladies and also some other ladies who are working in the maritime administration support areas within their governments. And so they've also joined our network. So one of the challenges for us is not only empowering women already in hydrography, but trying to attract women into hydrography into those nations where there is currently no women in those roles. Next slide, please. So what have we done so far? We've had 2 virtual meetings. The first one was an introduction where we just talked about ourselves and what we wanted to get out of this group, and also what we wanted to have discussed at the upcoming meeting, face-to-face meeting next week. And the second meeting was a lean-in circle where we had a discussion on an article written by the Harvard Business Review back in 1995. So quite an old document, but it was called The Power of Talk, Who Gets Heard and Why. And we had a really valuable discussion, and I found personally quite insightful as to how boys and girls, particularly in Western nations, are taught to use their voice and use their talk, and how what rituals they're sort of brought up in their family environments, where women tend to talk about trying to get the niceties done and to build relationships, whereas men, when they talk, are usually trying to invoke status and show who's the boss and tend to sort of identify a leader straight up, whereas women tend to all want to know the relationships and how people all sort of fit together. So that and lots of other insightful information was in that article, and I'm more than happy to share that if anybody wants to have a look at it. So in the Pacific, we also have the added element of lots of different cultures across the Pacific region. So this article, as I said, was a very sort of Western approach to the way that boys and girls are raised and how they become women and men. But we also need to include the different cultural barriers that may be happening in the Pacific as well. So the group identified 3 topics that they would like to have discussed when we have a face-to-face session next week. And they are pathways into hydrography. How do we encourage girls to know this career exists and how to navigate it? So that is going to be a bit of a discussion session for about 20 minutes. So I'm hoping after this discussion, you will be able to go away and give some thought as to how you got into hydrography. What attracted you to the career? How did you know it existed? And how do you think that we can share that message beyond our current industry? We're also going to have a session on different roles in hydrography, and we have 3 special guest speakers for you next week. So we've got Palu from Fiji. She's going to talk to us about her role as a nautical cartographer in the Fiji Hydrographic Service. We have Kat from the UKHO, who has 20 years across various aspects of hydrography, from offshore work to government work, and currently with UKHO, and she's going to talk to us about her career path to date. And we've also got Jen from Precision Hydrographic Services. So Jen is a hydrographic surveyor in Australia, and she's going to talk to us about her career to date as well. The third topic that the ladies would like to have discussed next week is the benefits to a diverse workforce and why we should care about including women in our workforce. And we're very excited to have Jan Pearce from Land Information New Zealand come and talk to us about the work that LINZ is doing and the benefits they're getting from having a diverse workforce. So that's what's going to be happening for us next week. Next slide, please, Stuart. So the taster, or the thing to think about before our meeting next week, is work that you're doing to empower women in hydrography. We need to send a regional response to the IHO, the IHO Assembly. And Adam has reached out to you all to ask if there's anything happening in your countries where you're empowering women in hydrography that you would like to have spotlighted in that report. And the other thing is to be an ally for women in your organisation, to support and encourage and provide opportunities for women to join hydrography and to progress within a hydrographic career. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for the women who joined us virtually. You'll have seen a couple of people pop in just before the session started. So hopefully that's a recap on what we've been up to, and look forward to welcoming you to the session next week. Thanks, Adam.
Okay, so thank you very much, Hilary. Hopefully that will have whetted people's appetite, interest for when we have the face-to-face meeting. And I see in the comments there we've already got somebody wishing to join up.
Awesome,
so,
53.
Yes. So no, that's excellent. So we're really looking forward to that session on day 2 of the main meeting next week.